Created a big topic here. I guess, you know, and everybody, I think like anything in horses, there's not one answer to it. I mean, everybody's got everything they've said, it's all correct. And the thing that I work on mainly for my eye is to educate my horses so that the jump holds them. And, you know, not many horses want to fall down, or not many horses want to hit a jump. So as young horses, I try to teach them about a deep distance. So ultimately, I can come down to the jump, and they understand that if I soften the rein to them, they're not going to leave a stride out and jump the jump. So I can gallop down to the jump coming down, let's say on a 14-foot stride, we're going quite fast, and you know, I sit up, and it's like a bell going off to the horse. You know, ding, ding, ding. There's a jump coming. They look for the jump, and then on those last couple of strides, if they need to shorten up, they'll sit down and shorten up and jump the jump well. You know, and it's my job is not to confuse the issue and then say, okay, now we've got to go and let a stride out. You know, we've got to be controlled enough to do that. So I think, you know, in your training of your horse, you learn to work as a partner and together and get them, and like Allison was saying, to make it as easy as possible. I mean, you can make it quite hard if you demand from them to jump from a long way off, because all of a sudden the degree of difficulty of jumping that jump's so much harder. But if you can make it easier by just letting the horse understand that he can shorten up, certainly staying in front of your leg. There's a difference between shortening up and half one to stop, but shortening up to back himself off the jump. I think then you don't really have to for you, and he's you know, he's doing a lot of the work for you. But obviously all of what these guys have said comes into play as well. You still got to come in on the right stride of canter. You can't come into a coffin fence on a 14-foot stride, you know, because that's unfair to the horse. But you come in, but the horse is understanding about what how you're going to ride him. And remember that they're an animal of repetition. You know, they're a habit kind of animal, so you've got to ride them the same like that all the time, so it gets through them.
I think it's horses for courses a little bit. I've obviously made mistakes in the past and learned from them, but at the same time, I think it's such an individual thing, and there are so many different factors to go into it. I think it depends what stage and age the horse comes into the sport to start with. So, I mean, it really depends on the level we're talking about. I've had 7-year-olds come into the sport after they've, you know, been kicked out of show jumping because they're not quite jumpers, and they comfortably run once every couple of weeks throughout the season, sometimes twice every week and a half. I mean, we have just that many events, and also money factors into it. I'm not really meant to talk about money because my PR company have told me not to. Anyway. But you know, it depends what you're producing that horse for. You come to my yard and everybody sort of knows me as this competitive, tough lad, and this, that, and the other. You know, I just wish that I could sometimes have everybody at my yard for a week, because I think it'd shock an awful lot of people. But at the same time, a lot of us have to make a living out of these horses. So obviously, welfare's one thing, but it's balancing the welfare. Obviously, nobody wants to injure horses, and I've made sure that, and really made sure that for a big yard we've got about the lowest break rate and lowest injury rate in England. I won't tell you how I found that out, but I think it's just so individual and depends on the horses, it depends on the target, it depends whether it's a long-term horse, a short-term horse. I'm talking from a professional's point of view now, and it also depends on exactly what the horse tells you. You know, real horsemen know when one's ready to run and one's not ready to run. And the other big thing is it's very easy, if you're high profile, for people to say after the event, well, I knew it was too much. And it's very easy after the event, when there's a red rosette on his bridle, that everybody can say, we knew that was going to happen, or we knew that was on form. It's just such a fine balance, and I think it's something that you'll learn from your mistakes more than anything else, which, you know, we all make. So I think it depends on the individual and the plan, but obviously once you get to top level and you've got a horse that's a 10-year-old, and you're wanting it to save it for a specific event, maybe the London Olympics, and obviously with such a huge plan, you work backwards from your main goal and try and give it the runs that will suit her to get it there in the best nick.
So we have completely not given you any concrete answer, but the whole point of it is that if you, I mean, as far as if she's asking how many is appropriate, you need to be in conversation with your instructor and your veterinarian and the people around you to help you make that best decision, because you can't look at the next person in your area and say, well, that person was able to run their horse 10, 15 times, and I'm just doing the same thing, and now my horse is lame. If you feel like you need help, there are a lot of people, and the ICP program is great, and I think, if you feel like you need guidance from someone more, another, maybe you're at a level now that you need your next instructor or something, that's always something to be thinking about. But make sure you're asking the people around you that know you and your horse the best. Ask them those questions to help you make a good program for your horse.
The other thing is there's so many different riding styles, and Andrew Nicholson's probably the most competitive of his generation, eventing-wise. He runs his horses a lot, he runs them competitively constantly, but for me, when you watch him ride cross-country on a good horse, or even is a bad one, he still takes an awful lot less out of it and can come home a minute quicker than some people that can pretend, or shouldn't say pretend, but be looking after their horse with this big plan in mind. And to me, he can go a minute quicker and take less out of one than that person that's hooking, pulling, setting up for every jump. And that's, to me, when the main pressure is on the leg, when you're changing the pace, when you're moving up a gear, slowing down, jumping the fence, moving up again, and that constant changing in the gears. Whereas if you see the top riders, I believe Andrew could run a lot of his tough horses nearly every week, and they'd still be there, ready for the next event.
I would always walk the inside distance personally, but I can also, once you get comfortable with the education of it, which is a little bit what I was talking about before, then you can start to have the creativity in your own mind of how you want to do it. But there's the school part of it, which is where you are right now, whereas you have, for me, you would have to have a structure on how you're going to learn how to do it. And that's got to become so part of your second nature. And then once that's done, then you can start to say, okay, well, I don't need to go 6 feet from the jump, because I know where the horse is going to land. He's going to land right here. And then I'm going to mark my 4 steps for 12 feet and carry on. 2
of my strides for landing, roughly landing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 stride. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 strides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 strides. 1, 2 to take off again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's it.
I use my fingers.